we will just try to enter more into the detail what it is, the importance of the Bakony-Balaton region on the map, culture map of Europe. So first of all, I do love situations whenever we can talk about culture in a much wider sense. It's just not only wearing very nice clothes and participating to a cultural event. It's much more. I do think that culture can be everything and anything around and in our lives. How we decide things, how we decide not to damage our environment. So it's lots of things. And yes, we can have really different perspectives from which we can look what culture means to us. And of course, it has a very specific professional language also. It is very right to have it. So we've got human capital, which can help us to develop cultural landscape. But whenever I just say these words, I do not think that people can put images on what human capital is and how it can contribute to the development of the regions. Okay, I get it. I get it. Perhaps the others can speak better. So, two things I would like to share with you. We used to talk much about the fact that Hungary is very much centered. There is Budapest and there is the other parts of the country. We've got a very serious review, HVG, and every year there is a ranking of secondary schools published in this review. Oh, I don't like this discussion, but I can't. But it's just there. So sorry, it's quite uncomfortable. But I would prefer to have another kind of chair without that cushion. It's really bothering me. Okay, I can have it. I'm from the government, huh? Okay, it was a joke, of course. So this review publishes every single year the ranking of high schools, the best hundreds. And this list is just typical as the others. 9 out of the 10 first ones are in the capital city. Only one is out, and it's Veszprém, which is the Lovasi High School. But 9 out of 10, what does it mean? It means that the situation is just sad. Sad when it comes to the evaluation of a region's development. And in the first 50, there is no high school in the south region of Hungary. So it's just sad. So I do think that, yes, human capital tells very much about local development. And whenever you invest into human capital, you invest into the development of a whole region. And yes, another thing. I wanted to bring my favorite map. It is a map which synthesizes all data coming from the educational and healthcare services. And we can see that you've got a central region starting at Győr, and it's Győr, Veszprém, Keszthely, and it goes to Salgótarján and Nóra. So this is a kind of a circle with very bad indicators. So you've got a region here which has very bad indicators. And it's more or less what it was the old plan for the M9 motorway. If you are a little bit older and you were there in the 90s, you can remember it. So I do think that whenever you've got those indicators, you can see that they are all linked one to another. It is very important to start, for example, by economical investments, creation of workplaces, and later on it can bring people to the region, and we can launch the educational sectors development, and so on and so on. And then a virtuous circle and cycle can start. And human capital has a great part to play in it. Okay, let's try to translate it, Alice. How can we translate it? For that, what I want to say, let's go back to yesterday. We had mayors from small settlements, and in these small settlements, small communities organized very interesting cultural events, a series of cultural events. And from the sharing, we could see that it gave so much to the people living in these areas. So let's translate this, let's say, bureaucratical language to the reality of small settlements. The Balaton region, I do think it's for us a holiday region, and we give the priority to holiday programs. And our program, the PITA program, well, changed the target. We targeted local communities, and we just highlighted that locals are at least as important as tourists. And by doing that, by concentrating the local communities all year round, these local communities just started to believe in themselves, and they connected one to another, and they discovered their own forces, their own human capital, which can be really the motor of a whole region. And yes, we had the opportunity to launch some processes, and now we can see that once launched, now this energy is there. This energy is there, and the whole region can profit of this human energy flooding now through those communities. They all told us that they wanted to go on. And I really do hope that on the long run, we will be able to, let's say, put behind this kind of past in which only tourists were important. And if you go back to one of the dialogues, one of the mayors yesterday told that, well, we could say no to this typical Hungarian expression, which means that whenever there is something common, it can't work. So it was so good to hear that. And yes, once this local energy liberated, we can achieve great things. Yes, whenever you planified the programs of the European Cultural Capital Program, could you focus since the beginning to that, or could you just say while doing things that, oh, it's even better than we thought? I know that now you think on the long run, but were there any specifically, let's say, shocking developments which were even better and bigger than you've thought before? Things that you would have not linked to the culture as development? What we do know is, well, what we did not know at what level these small settlements could profit of these programs. I do think that they did much better than we thought. Yes, and you have to hold the mic while speaking. Yeah. Let me go back to your question, meaning what is the role of human capital in the local development? Of course, whenever it comes to a structure, it needs long-run planning and infrastructures and investments, of course. But behind every single act and action, there is a human being. And whenever you can just discover your own potential, whenever while networking you can discover your own force, well, what does it mean? It means that you can invent yourself and you can discover that your acting is the fuel. And whenever you discover your own power, it means lots of things. And while you've been speaking, I was thinking, Tibor talked about the framework of local development. And he talked about also what kind of challenges should be tackled whenever it comes to development of a whole region. And for example, this program, the European Cultural Capital Program, well, it was just a catalysator. It facilitated the whole process. And it made it quicker. We changed really the speed. So that is why this whole region and this very city gain in speed, and not only speed, but they can open energies around it and the whole region and mainly the city. But behind these words, I mean, you've got people who want to connect to something now and then. I can't see the future, but I do hope that, yes, we're creating something. Alíz told us there's no way back, so that's what I do hope, that now we'll go on. Of course, it must be sustained, and yes, it is good to invest in it, but it's very interesting to see at what level it is able to connect people. Peter, in this round table, well, we know that you are very important players of this European Cultural Capital Program, and you participated in it. And it's very important to us, to Hungarians, to understand that this is a big thing. We did good and we did something big. And what about the season? Let's start with the season. What was visible even from Budapest or from abroad? Okay, well, I've got an easy task, because in 2010 in Peach, I was really in the works for Peach, of course, and then it was about Veszprém, and really the first steps towards this cultural capital role. Well, I was there since the beginning, and I could assist the whole process, and it was so interesting. And I could really follow the preparation, did everything. And thank you, Tibor, having told that we at Page, we organized a workshop in order to share our positive and experiences and also the traps we had with the Veszprém team. Yes. So now, today we are there to share lessons learned. But back in time, yes, Pécs was the first Hungarian cultural capital, and Pécs could share lots of things with Veszprém in order that Veszprém could avoid these traps. And we are so happy that we succeeded. So, in 2005, Veszprém lost and Pécs won. But since that very date, we could see that there is this intention to succeed. So we are very happy that Veszprém learned a lot from our experiences. The team was great and cooperated with the culture ministry too. And what we could see and what we could feel. Okay, I do think that marketing was well done because it was visible. We could see everywhere that yes, in 2023, Veszprém was the cultural capital of Europe. The logo was good, the opening was great. In the whole country, everybody could follow the opening. It made a boom. It was a really great opening for the season. So it was well done. And yes, problems, it's linked to infrastructure. Because yes, there was some compromise done that the facades were renovated for the season, but not the interiors. Exactly the same thing then for Pécs, because this very famous Zsolnai district has not been finished on time, but it was finished only in 2012. In Veszprém, it's a little bit better, but not perfect, let's say. All the facades were finished on time. And in Pécs and in Veszprém, we wanted much more than just a Würstel festival, but we wanted to have a longer impact. And yes, I think that Veszprém is better from this perspective than Pécs. So, congratulations. Okay, if we look to the culture from a longer perspective, and if we do want to analyze, for example, the fact that whenever it comes to people dealing with culture, we just can't really put our hands on them. It means that a lawyer, yes, okay, nice suit, nice tired, and so on, you can identify them. Culture people, well, it's not at all the same thing. But whenever you organize a conference, you try really to gather lots of data. So, for example, some questions emerge. For example, what is the link in between culture, people, and research, for example? And yesterday we heard that for Nobel Prizes, what we can see, research projects which got Nobel Prize, well, we could see that it included somebody from the cultural field, because somebody coming from this field has a very creative impact, a very interesting impact, even on the very hard research project. So perhaps we can render projects more understandable. So what is your opinion? Okay, let's have an example, a real one. We organized the Moderator festival a year ago. And what was the basic idea? So you've got the tragedy of a man, and you've got lots of symbols in this tragedy. So we invited lots of people, Tibor also, and artists and so on, to discuss about those symbols and to ask those evergreen questions about man's life and the tragedy of a human being. So we organized interdisciplinary festivals. We did not set borders between researchers, artists. So we tried in a way to have a holistic approach. And I do think that, and you've mentioned it 3 times, so I do think that culture is just not about putting a piano on the scene and playing on it. It's much, much more.
Culture is everything that it is part of our everyday life, the framework in which our civilization is living. It's not only art, it's also science. Law is also culture, economy and industry are also part of the culture. So it's important to involve and smart to involve the people in this who think differently, let's say from a lawyer. For example, artists have a different way of thinking. They have different resources than a lawyer. So just a side note, which is quite current and I intensely involved in this topic, the question of AI, for example, which in this region can have a serious role if the university provides the framework for that and finds the framework and builds the framework for that. This can be, the AI is a joint system in which scientists, artists, professionals can cooperate and discover new areas for humanity. So the fact that Europe's cultural capital is targeting the repositioning of a creative economic region, which means that economy, cultural, and community results happen here. I think that in this way, it's important to think in a holistic, a transdisciplinary way. We will also talk about it that in this program, whatever you experienced as knowledge, how can you offer this to other projects and areas in Hungary? But let's talk about something that was an important question. How can you put this region on the European map? It was very humorous in the opening presentation, which compared 2 things related to branding. So what if we compare Veszprém to Balaton, and what if we relate Veszprém to Bakony? One of them was a darker painting, the other was a lighter painting. So, of course, you can enjoy both of them, but they provoke radically different emotions. So, how can we notice this in Europe? What are we branding actually, so that this shouldn't be something that the peripheries are struggling with for a long time? it's so interesting. You are not riding a horse anymore to go to work on the farm. No, no, thank you. We have subway lines. So a region uh, doesn't want to be visible as exotic as that. But what are we branding here? What do we want to showcase? Well, whatever we have here. It's difficult to give an answer to that, what we are branding, because usually the answer is that this is the Hungarian Tuscany. No, 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 I would incarcerate everyone who says stuff like that. No, because Tuscany is so Hungary is not the Italian Balaton Highlands. So no, Tuscany is the Hungarian, the Italian Balaton Highlands. So the other way around. In the advertising campaign, also, it was very nicely positioned that we need to discover here who are here in this region. Of course, naturally, Nyíregyháza, Békéscsaba, Gyoma-Endrőd, they are target areas because Hungarians live there. Why wouldn't they come to Veszprém? However, it's much more difficult to come here to a program from Gyoma-Endrőd than from Sopron or from Kismarton or from Alsó-Lendva or from Graz. It's easier to get here from those places, and that's why this campaign was important. Also, that firstly, the branding in here is, we can say that this is like northern Slovenia. So we need to have targets. We need to target Croatia, Austria, Slovenia. Or from the Czech Republic, because from Prague they are going on holiday to the island of Brač, and the navigation shows if they go through this county. For example, Tablons, Bokros Puszta, they are full of Czech tourists, but they don't know they should get out of the car. But there is a castle, ruin there, and they don't have accommodation. Let's say a 4-star accommodation that the families should say, let's have a stop over here. So I think that because we became the European cultural capital of Europe, we got into certain guidebooks and people are coming to visit here. And I see that the hospitality facilities, for example, the dining facilities that got included in the Michelin guidebook, they are coming here to the Papírkutya, to the Kunst, or to different places. So those who could be included in the Michelin guidebook, they were put on the map. But for us, we need also the people's diplomacy to say so. We need to attract people. Quality can only be very high after a critical mass. So now, let's say a teacher from Regensburg who is in connection with one of the faculties of the Pannon University, they should come here to visit, let's say. So we also need the people's advertisement. Yes, and we were in 17 countries before the program year, and we are continuing in cooperation with the Ministry of Culture. So in the post-communication, we are also advertising, mostly with a tourism focus, so not specifically the programs of the cultural program, but we were actually doing wine tastings and products of local producers from this region. And we also planned a lot of press study tours. And as I mentioned yesterday, more than 1,000 articles were published in 45 countries. And this is not only including Europeans, but we organized, let's say, journal for journalists, events for journalists. We traveled with them. We showed them the interesting spots and the destinations. And we had to focus differently because different journalists from different countries have different interests and have different tourism interests. So this is a very lucky situation because the cultural and tourism offering of this Bakony-Balaton region is endless. So we could show them very interesting destinations and things. I will say a very extreme parallel. What is now in the Hajógyári Island? Besides the fact that there is a 2,000-year spot there. So actually nothing is there. But when I was in Australia on an official trip, and a 20-year-old Australian lady was sitting next to me, and we introduced ourselves, and I said I was from Hungary, I'm going to Australia. Oh, really? She has been to Budapest. Yeah, have you been to Budapest? Do you have some links, work? No, I've been to the Sziget Festival when I was 16 with my friends. So what attracts them? Only the programs that are placed there for the 10 days. However, here we have much more than that. So I think the Veszprém program very smartly integrated what was very well invented 30 years ago with the Veszprém or the Kapocs Festival. So they show the value of the specific region, and they invite fantastic performers as well from other places. So it is not a cultural program organized in a neutral place, but the local values add to the value of the events. And I think it turned out very well here. That's why, for example, in Baranya, we are trying to increase the reputation of the Ormánság and make it very popular, and we try to position it. This is not my parliamentary region, but I'm trying to help them eagerly. When I was the director of a kindergarten, primary school, and secondary school director in Ormánság, we managed to save a primary school actually there. And it was 16, 17 years ago. And this school now operates with twice as many children. They said yes to the future. They said yes to life. And they remain there locally. So you can make miracles in the difficult regions as well. In the Ormánság, we also make a festival with local values. So if Veszprém can do this in the long run, and coordinate the capacities and the Bakony-Balaton values, the local specialties, the gastro, the built heritage, the cultural landscape. In the long run, these can all be fantastic values, and this region can be a driving force in the country, and it will show on the local economy. I would like to add to the branding. The Balaton region, the Veszprém-Balaton region, has incredible characteristics with regards to the potential in the quality of life. So if in some way, and that was the task actually of the Cultural Capital of Europe program as well, and remains the task as well, that if some way you can keep the creative energy here or invite the creative energies here, then it can happen because of the benefits of this region. So the creative regions, one of the characteristics of creative regions is that it's good to live there. Obviously, you have to create the reasons why it is good living here. And what are the creative opportunities? What are the opportunities where you can actually really live there and make a good living there? But these characteristics are given here at Lake Balaton. We feel that in several settlements of Lake Balaton, creative energies are in abundance, and we of course try to put this in a system and put more motivation to increase these energies. But with these creative events such as festivals or the development of digital culture in the region, the international cooperation, for example, so that we can learn from Europe as well. When we are learning from Europe, those who are teaching, they come here to teach. And that uplifts the region as well. So this region has fantastic opportunities, and I agree that we have to associate this region to Lake Balaton, but it's also good to visit the Bakony Mountains in winter. I think this is a well-livable region, and seizing this opportunity, keeping the young people here, giving them opportunities, for example, through the literature festivals, with the gains and benefits of the university, and with the personal relations, networks. I think all this can provide a good future. And sustainability always has a part, which means that you have to work for it. You always have to work for sustainability. Regarding the primary impacts, with our tools and instruments, so primary impacts are the impacts that are the most important impacts. I will give you a personal example. I have a close relative living here in Veszprém. They bought a type of building that was built in the communism. Here in our village near Pécs, we can buy it for 6-7 million. How much do you think they paid for this old building here? 65 million, 92 million forints they paid for this old building that was built in the communism. And they said they buy it for this amount of money because in half a year it will be more than 100 million. Yes, it was mentioned yesterday in one of the roundtable discussions. This is a huge problem for sustainability. Of course, the rental fee of business premises and facilities. In a city with 60,000 people, with these prices, you cannot maintain a profitable cafe or restaurant. And unfortunately, the owners in Veszprém, they are not local patriots yet, so they rather keep their business premises empty than taking the prices lower. They are keeping the prices very high, and they are putting at risk the operation of the cultural capital of Europe, because cafes, entertainment places, and clubs and restaurants give a very excellent atmosphere to the city, but the rent is very high. So let's go back to culture and identity and self-image. So my question was before that if you have the wish to be put on the European map, how would you like to be identified there? And how can you avoid the center periphery inferiority complex? How can you avoid this? And when we say, so my answer was, my question was, what do we have to offer? And you said, whatever is here. But what is the attitude with which you offer this, what you have to offer here? And I think the small details are very important that I referred to yesterday in the last roundtable discussion, where, for example, a small community experiences fantastic experiences in cultural events, and they will have a self-image, a self-confidence that is organically coming from the inside of these small communities, and in concentric circles they will have a regional self-identity in which they can showcase this identity and offer this identity. during the whole program, it was important that the local values and cultural basis should come to the surface again and should be shown again, so that people can realize the diverse cultural values that even the smallest village has. And they should be proud of this. They should be able to show this. Because if people know this, then this local bond will be much stronger. They will be proud of their settlement, their villages, and if they feel good in that settlement, then this will radiate towards the outside. So the spirit of the locations is important. So if the locals feel good in their homes, it is good to be there. This radiates to the outside. And visitors also come and visitors say they want to feel why people feel so good and live so good there. So I think this is very important. This is what we can showcase.
Yes, indeed. I agree with you. Why, for example, in Europe, we want to travel to another country. And why do we say it was so good? It can be for an event, a concert or something really linked to us. Taylor Swift, for example, in Vienna, if we can really do it. So we can go for an event. But I do think what it is a little bit more passionate in Europe, but perhaps it's true anywhere else in the world, but I only know Europe, or I know Europe best, is that you can offer antique and modern, something which is far, something which is close, something which is very expensive, and something which is cheap. Everything is together. In Germany, we like because we can have in Germany really what it's worth. There's no trap, and we can go to Worms and really visit a Gothic miracle, but we can go to Aachen too and go even further to the past. And yes, this region can offer that. We've got Roman originated ruins, and if you want to have high tech, you can go to the Pannon University, you can get it. If you want to discover Hungary during the Arpad dynasty era, you can have it. So we can offer exactly the same thing that the Occidental part of Europe can show us, but unfortunately there is not enough people to know what it has to offer. Sometimes in the world they think that we do not have a past, or they think that we do not have a present, and they think that, oh, it's Hungary, it's something Nazi, they are stuck to the past, and those Hungarians are people really living in the past. Or they think that, oh, this is a language you can't understand. So I do think that we have to show that we've got the past and the present as the Spanish and the Irish and the French. For example, Ireland today, I do think that there's an Irish pub, everything in the world. St. Patrick Day. It is a huge event, even 3,000 kilometers from Ireland, and millions of people think that they participate to an Irish celebration while drinking an Irish beer at St. Patrick's Day. So Ireland has just started to show off, to show that yes, we do have that and that and that, and that's what we have to do. Oh, you've just told that we've got everything. And there is a way how to do things. For example, we can just think that all these programs integrated in the framework of this European Cultural Capital Program, it's pretty much the same. But I think that Veszprém is a good example to prove that you've got lots of specialties. Yes, I know that those chairs are not comfortable, Mr. Commissioner, but yesterday lots of other people tried to be seated there and speak about the programs. And all these people shared that they were able to really get to know lots of new things. So yes, it's been a complicated task, but we've learned lots of things. So we can share that what we've learned, we can even share with the government. Yes, indeed. Whenever it comes to realization of a program, it's very interesting if we really want to do something on the long run. What we had to do, it was for 2 years period of time, and we had some events, and we could be really, I'm pretty sure that we were able to do it well. But it was not enough for us. We wanted to invest our energy not only in our programs, but also in the programs of our partners. We wanted to really help smaller settlements and mayors to facilitate their work, to show them how to connect to others. And that's why we established a system of programming with assistance, and we helped them in the realization, in the thinking together. Because whenever you are a little bit in it, but not that much in it, you can have a sharper eye. And yes, of course, there is the bureaucratic work, administrative work. We had to help them, and that was their feedback. They had the feedback that, oh yes, we could call them whenever we wanted, and we got professional help. And that's what, let's say, put a personal taste to the whole. And yes, perhaps that is also a reason why they could profit of it a little bit more. And now this is experience gained and knowledge gained, and they can work with it. And I do think that this kind of model and methodology can be adapted to other programs also. We have to help local settlements and communities, because when it comes to a survival of a region, it is the involvement and the reinforcement of local communities. And that's what we did. And that's what we got from this program. I do think that it should be shared. And it could be a guideline for other regions. Yes, for example, we've got another big program for Hungarian villages, Hungarian settlements, and perhaps what you've did, a PITA program, it could be continued. Yes, for example, there is a huge program in order to help the construction of the infrastructure. It's very good. This is the hardware of the cultural part, but it's not enough. Infrastructure is what needed, but it's not enough. We need people knowing how to do, what to do, and people who've discovered things elsewhere and would like to become the yeast of their own settlement. Norbert Kovács, a Kiscsősz, is a mayor. He's just great. He's doing an incredible innovation. 12 months a year, so whole year round, he's doing a great work. He urbanized, let's say like that, villagers' values and traditions, and he is doing so well. It's a small settlement. Tibor, you will visit them tomorrow. It's sensational. So if we can do that, and the Python program has promoted something similar, well, we could give a better point of life for the settlements. So this is a yes to my question. So the Hungarian village program is capable to create the infrastructural environment, and then we can put something else on it. Is there any chance, for example, in order to continue some programs we've started? Because can we be confident enough that our programs could be continued? Yes, I think we can say yes. Because I would like to differentiate the Hungarian village program and another kind of cultural kind of program. Because for the future, what I would like to see, I would like to create wider communities, not just one settlement at once. I do think that cooperation, harmonization of programming is very important. For example, what can you see now in Hungary? In between the 20th of July and the 10th of August, you've got 3 festivals by village. And it's not good because, well, everybody is losing. If we cooperate, if we do a good programming, it's a good thing. But for cooperation, well, you do have to work because it's not easy to make people to cooperate, because we have to learn how to cooperate. And in order to learn how to cooperate, you have to have the first push. And we have to motivate them also. Whenever you cooperate, you get more money, for example, and so on and so on and so on. So I do think that political decision makers should be aware of all these things. And I would like to underline that now settlements from their own budget gave money for a cooperation. Wow. I do think it's a culture, and it's a nice culture because for doing so, you need trust. If somebody from Veszprém goes there, says, okay, this is the plan, and 3 years after we will have that, and you will have to, for the 3 years, put money on the table. Well, and whenever there's a mayor in the small settlement to do so, whenever there's a critics, we should have buy something else, a pump or whatever. Well, this is great, and this is what we have to do. And yeah, you use these really interesting words to illustrate your saying. So a diving pump instead of a culture program, it was a great image. Okay, I am not an insider, but I'm a close one. And what are the differences? Well, this program was a little bit unique because it involved a whole region, but it was not that clear because we had several very specific debates and disputes even. But I do think that this regional perspective made Veszprém the winning one. Because if Veszprém settles a goal, namely becoming the energy center of a whole region, it also means a commitment, because if Veszprém wants to help, Veszprém should be helped also. So it's a huge task for Veszprém. So now it is a good question that we should ask. Is the attitude of Pécs towards the settlements around it and towards its region, so is Veszprém succeeded in changing his attitude towards those settlements? And what are the tasks to be accomplished for Veszprém in order to become this real energy center? Okay. Yes, of course. The little prince also told that you are responsible for the fox if you made it part of your family. So yes, of course, we are now responsible. Yeah, of course, John says interesting things. And yesterday, the Pano University had a very interesting survey shared with us, namely about the identity questions of Veszprémi people. And it was very interesting to discover that yes, indeed, there were changes and there is more trust, for example. So we had harder data put behind to what you've just told, that indeed visibility, impact, these are very interesting parts of this whole. Okay, I should ask my last question, because now we are heading to the end of this round table. So I do know that when it comes to cultural events, you have to organize, it's a huge work, and so on. And then we try to measure the impact. Very often we put several things on the table, and we could say that, oh, these are just normal things. So, for example, whenever you just eat together at a table, but this is culture, indeed. In small settlements, for example, young mothers can bring their children to a very specific program just for them, and being together, well, it's changed lots of things. And we had another program, we had a campaign, Eat Together. I do think normally people would like to eat together, but so people who've participated in the whole program, well, normally they could just rediscover things that they normally should be part of a normal life. You become much more linked to your own town. You start to really cook and eat with people who live just next door, but you don't know. So all these things, I do think, all these things help people to be reconnected to their normal life, let's say like that. Yes. Okay. It was great, but you will point out something negative? Well, all the time. Whenever it comes to culture, people think that it costs no money. What about sustainability of our programming? I'm often asked what to do in order that these European Cultural Capital Program remains. A little bit of money, but it won't come only from the central budget. We are citizens. And of course, we invest to our own life, but we should a little bit invest for the community. If just you eat one time more in a restaurant. If you have one coffee more in your own city, you contribute. Festivals can be reorganized if the tickets are sold. So central governmental budget and contribution is not enough. We need the contribution of the citizens. If you say, oh, it's a very nice place, but the coffee home, it's not that expensive. It's true. But if you don't have a coffee in a nice place, if you don't eat, never ever if you do, at a restaurant, well, everything will close. So just go to your shops in Veszprém or in your own settlement. Just go to restaurants in your own town and coffee houses in your own town.
Igen, így van, egyetértek egyébként én.
Yes, I agree. And with the volunteering as well, I would bring in the volunteering aspects as well. It has been mentioned that in small settlements, lots of people do things voluntarily. And if you look at what you can do for your city, you can really do significant things to maintain this program. Theater, concert, cinema, ballet, festival. Let's be consumer. That's why we are citizens. And this cultural capital program also strengthened this, that this used to be part of being a citizen in the second part of the 19th century to go to cultural event. This was with us between the two world wars. So let's do this now. And if we did it well before, if we did it here last year, we can have a result that it provoked interest from the citizens. And I don't want to open a new chapter, but in 2009, for example, back then, every year, they fired the CEO and brought a new one. And Page in 2009 said that the cultural capital will be a big failure, and 20% said that they hope it will be successful. In 2010, we surveyed the whole city with the same representative sample, and 80,000 said that they wouldn't have believed that this would be so successful. So it strengthened the confidence of residents, citizens. We just have to go and continue on this path in our everyday operations. I think one of the important benefits of such a huge program is that for a specific goal, back then, citizens sat together and started to think about what the future should be like. And that's not necessarily so everywhere. Some places just let themselves drift, or people on the personal level, or on the community level, city level, they just let themselves drift. But the fact that they had the opportunity to imagine a future and influence, have an impact on that future somehow, I think if the practice and enjoyment of that is preserved, that together they can think about the next step, I think that can be the biggest benefit of this program. And before, in the tea afternoons, in the family houses, the people were listening to music, playing the piano. So the music is important. Yes, and we talked about it, that culture is not only the music played for an audience, but it can be in the families as well. Thank you for your attention, for the audience. And I will talk about the next program point.